My mother-in-law is into health preservation. After attending a health lecture, she insisted on drinking mountain spring water, and not even boiled. As a doctor, I explained to her from a professional perspective that mountain spring water might contain parasites and, without proper treatment, could also have other harmful substances. However, my mother-in-law didn't care at all, believing that what the health expert said was true. But after my husband and I took turns trying to dissuade her, she finally gave up. Later, my mother-in-law got cancer and actually believed it was because I stopped her from drinking the mountain spring water. When she invited me to go hiking, she pushed me off the mountain, killing me. My spirit drifted in the air, watching as my husband, to protect his mother, gave false testimony to prove that I had fallen on my own. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day my mother-in-law brought back the mountain spring water. This time, I won't stop her. I was reborn back to the day when my mother-in-law returned from her trip, carrying a large bottle of mountain spring water. Let me tell you, this tour group was such a great deal. Not only did they take us out to have fun, but they also arranged a lecture by a health expert. Usually, you'd have to spend a lot of money just to hear something like that. My mother-in-law was holding all the health products she had bought, boasting excitedly to our relatives. Really? I heard from my daughter that many of these so-called health experts nowadays are just scammers. You better be careful not to get tricked. Exactly, they call it a lecture, but it's really just a trick to get you to buy more stuff and spend more money. Look, these health supplements don't even have a production date. You better not end up with health problems from taking them. Nowadays, with the internet being so advanced, even the elderly know that many health supplements are scams. If you want to stay healthy, you're better off exercising more. Oh, I know some of them are scams, but this one isn't. The expert didn't even ask us to buy anything. They were mainly promoting the benefits of mountain spring water. The stuff I'm showing you now is just something I bought on a whim, feeling a bit upset by her relatives' doubts. The mother-in-law insisted that the health supplements she had been tricked into buying were actually her own purchase. Then she quietly pulled out a bucket of water. That's what really matters. The relatives found it odd that the mother-in-law treasured a bottle of water so much. What's so important about it? It's just a bottle of mineral water. Luckily, you only went to a nearby village for a trip. Otherwise, carrying such a heavy bottle of water back would have been exhausting. This isn't mineral water. It's mountain spring water I specially brought back from outside. Experts say mountain spring water is rich in minerals, which is good for your health. This time, we visited the longevity village. The people there live to at least 99 years old because they drink mountain spring water every day. Some relatives really couldn't listen any longer. If drinking mountain spring water could make you live to 99, wouldn't everyone in the world live a long life? I think you should listen to fewer lectures. Be careful not to get sick from drinking it. Upon hearing this, the mother-in-law's face fell. As people age, their health issues increase, and they start to fear death. She always felt that these relatives were cursing her. This is mountain spring water, unpolluted and perfectly fine. After speaking, my mother-in-law looked at me. Yun, you're a doctor. Tell me, isn't mountain spring water better than tap water? I snapped back to reality. In my previous life, my mother-in-law had asked me the same question. Back then, I frowned as soon as I heard it and honestly told her that mountain spring water might contain parasites or other chemical substances, so it was best not to drink it. I even dug up a lot of experiments to prove it, hoping she wouldn't always think that drinking water could make her live 100 years. My mother-in-law's face immediately turned pale at that moment, when I and other relatives all said the mountain spring water was bad. It practically made her lose face completely. After the relatives left, she immediately called my husband back, wanting to vent her anger. Who would have thought that after seeing the examples I provided, my husband also firmly refused to let his mother drink the mountain spring water. In the end, after our persuasion, she finally gave up on drinking the mountain spring water. But I never expected that every time my mother-in-law got sick afterward, she would sarcastically say it was because I didn't let her drink the mountain spring water. In the end, she even blamed me for her cancer, believing that if she had drunk the mountain spring water, she would have lived a long and healthy life. After that, my mother-in-law kept giving me a hard time, until one day, my mother-in-law came to me with deep remorse to apologize, saying she had been in a bad mood due to her illness, and she invited me to go hiking with her. I foolishly believed it. Little did I expect that after climbing to the mountaintop, what awaited me was my mother-in-law pushing me off the cliff. She acted discreetly, avoiding the crowd, and no one saw it except my husband, and compared to me, it was clear that my mother-in-law was more important to my husband. He concealed the cause of my death, publicly claiming that I had accidentally fallen off a cliff. Thinking of this, I looked at my mother-in-law and smiled sweetly. If you like it, go ahead and drink it. After all, it's just mountain spring water, and it's not like our family can't afford it. After the relatives left, my mother-in-law was in an especially good mood, humming a little tune as she tidied up the junk she had bought. "Mom, I put the mountain spring water in your room for you. Remember to drink it every day." All right, my mother-in-law was quite satisfied with my sensible behavior, but she still couldn't break the habit of criticizing me a bit. "If you had been like this before, I would have treated you like my own daughter." I rolled my eyes where she couldn't see. Who wants to be her daughter? I have my own parents. I certainly don't want this troublemaker as my mom and dad. When my husband came back, he was still surprised, because I hadn't had a child. My mother-in-law was very dissatisfied with me, and every day after he returned, he had to listen to her scold me. "I never expected the atmosphere at home to be so good today." "Mom, what good thing happened? You're so happy, share it with me so I can be happy too." Today Yuan really made me proud. You have no idea how awful your aunts looked when they left." After listening to my mother-in-law recount the events of the day, my husband frowned and pulled me aside. Yuan. Could something happen if Mom drinks mountain spring water? Tap water is filtered and disinfected before it's safe to drink. Mountain spring water must be filthy inside. I sneered inwardly. It seemed he wasn't unaware of this. He was only telling me now because he wanted me to be the one to step forward and stop my mother-in-law. Looking at my despicable husband, I couldn't help but wish I could take him to the cliff where I had fallen to my death and push him over as well. Unfortunately, I couldn't do that. Only after I had managed to suppress the rage inside me did I finally speak. "Honey, Mom just wants to drink mountain spring water. It should be fine once it's boiled. Now that she's getting older, if we stop her from doing the things she wants, who else will support her?" I pretended to be understanding, now fully embodying the image of a good daughter-in-law who cares for her mother-in-law. My mother-in-law had been eavesdropping on our conversation. When I said those words just now, I deliberately raised my voice, and I clearly saw her expression soften. In the past, when I tried to do what was best for her, she never showed me any kindness. Now that I've stopped interfering, she actually thinks I'm alright. People are just so damn ungrateful. But honey, seeing that my husband still wanted to say something, I quickly covered his mouth, making it impossible for him to speak. All right, you must be tired from work today. Hurry up and go eat. Mom made a lot of delicious food today to reward you." My husband really had no choice. Seeing that my mother-in-law was also paying close attention to him, he didn't want to upset her, so he had to give up on bringing up the matter for the time being. He has always been a good son, supporting whatever my mother-in-law wants to do, and that's because I'm the one who opposes anything that might be harmful to her. After that, every time he tried to bring it up, I would interrupt him and not let him speak. As time went on and he saw that nothing bad happened, he stopped mentioning not letting my mother-in-law drink the mountain spring water. Watching my mother-in-law persist in drinking the mountain spring water every day, I smiled virtuously. I really am a considerate and understanding daughter-in-law. After all, ever since that day, my mother-in-law has been drinking mountain spring water every day, and our household water bill has even gone down by a few dollars. She had only brought back 1 bucket, and the mountain spring water was almost gone within a few days. As a good daughter-in-law, as soon as I noticed this, I quickly offered to take my mother-in-law to get more mountain spring water. "Mom, I happen to be off work next weekend. I'll drive you to Longevity Village, and this time we'll bring back more mountain spring water." My mother-in-law's eyes lit up at the mention. She had been about to ask me to take her there, but I beat her to it. "Really, that's wonderful. Last time, I wanted to bring back more, but I just couldn't carry it all by myself. Now that you're driving, I can buy a lot more." Yes, the mountain spring water my mother-in-law drinks still needs to be purchased, but I don't mind at all, because my mother-in-law has one good quality. She has her own pension and doesn't care to spend my money. I drove for 2 hours and finally arrived at Longevity Village. The scenery here is truly beautiful, with clear waters and green mountains. Even in summer, there's a cool breeze blowing. No wonder people are willing to come here for tourism. After getting out of the car, my mother-in-law, holding several large oil jugs in both hands, walked up the mountain with great energy. Walking behind her, I looked more like an elderly person, moving slowly and leisurely, not in a hurry at all. My mother-in-law didn't care at all whether I was keeping up or not. She just needed me to bring her here and then take her and her precious mountain spring water back home. She huffed and puffed her way up the hill, and as soon as she saw the flowing spring, she rushed over to fill her bottle with water. What a waste, what a waste. So much mountain spring water just flowing away. Honestly, these people have no idea how good mountain spring water is. "Auntie, do you like drinking mountain spring water?" Someone nearby saw the old lady fetching water and curiously approached. They had seen others doing the same along the way, but it was the first time they had seen someone carrying so many large bottles like her. "That's right, mountain spring water is wonderful. Last time, even the health expert said that mountain spring water contains a lot of minerals. And drinking it regularly can help you live longer. At first, I didn't believe it either. But after drinking it for several days, I really felt better. That's why I came back for more. As soon as I climbed up, I saw the old lady proudly promoting how great the mountain spring water was to others, looking like a brainwashed fanatic. Some people nearby were already getting impatient and wanted to leave, probably feeling like they had run into a madwoman, but the old lady kept holding on to them and wouldn't let go. So they couldn't really do anything. Finally, someone couldn't hold back anymore and retorted impatiently, "Auntie, there are a lot of parasites in mountain spring water. It's fine if you drink it once, but if you drink it every day, something bad will definitely happen." "Young man, what nonsense are you talking? And you're even cursing me to have an accident. How did your parents raise you? You should show a little more respect to your elders when you're out in public." The mother-in-law got angry as soon as she heard that person speak and rushed forward to hit them, but was stopped by the person's friend. That person thought the mother-in-law might really be crazy, so they quickly pulled their friend away and didn't want to pursue the matter any further. Seeing the mother-in-law in this state, the others also grew a bit frightened, and soon only the mother-in-law was left near the spring. She didn't care in the slightest, focusing all her attention on her mountain spring water while muttering to herself, "They just don't know what's good for them. They won't even take the chance to live a long life." I went down for another round, estimating that my mother-in-law should have finished fetching water by now before heading back up. "Yun, you're here. Quick, help me carry these buckets of water downstairs. The expert is giving another lecture, and I need to hurry over." With that, my mother-in-law dashed off in a flash, leaving me alone with over a dozen buckets of mountain spring water. I was speechless. Even my husband couldn't move this much water effortlessly, yet she expected me to do it all by myself. It's like her brain's been hit with an iron rod. So I found a clean spot nearby, sat down, and started playing on my phone, with no intention of moving at all. By the time my mother-in-law returned, those dozen or so buckets of mountain spring water were still right where they had been. "Yun, what are you doing? I asked you to carry the water down. Why haven't you moved a single bucket?" I rolled my eyes. "Mom, it's so heavy. How could I possibly move it all by myself? Besides, I don't even drink it. If you shared some with me, maybe I'd help you carry it." I said that on purpose, knowing full well that my mother-in-law definitely wouldn't be willing to share with me. After all, there's only so much water you can bring back at once. If one more person drinks, she'll get less. Sure enough, as soon as I said that, my mother-in-law's expression changed. "Then I'll move it myself." "And here I thought you'd changed for the better, but it seems you're still the same as before. Our Hui marrying you is like bringing home an ancestor." Scolding me seemed to fuel my mother-in-law's energy the whole way. I watched her go up and down the mountain again and again to fetch water and couldn't help but laugh. "Mom, why don't you just share a little with me so you don't have to work so hard?" My mother-in-law glared at me fiercely. "I won't share any with you. I'd rather feed it to the dogs than give it to you. When we get back, I'm going to tell Hui exactly how you treated me." I wasn't afraid at all. After all, I had already decided to divorce my husband. If I helped his mother cover up one crime, there would be a second time. I didn't want him to end up killing me again later. It wasn't until dark that my mother-in-law finally finished loading all the mountain spring water into the car. She lay panting on the back seat, and when she saw me coming, she didn't say a word, just closed her eyes and started sleeping. I ignored her too and drove straight back. My husband was already waiting for us downstairs at home, in the car. My mother-in-law complained about me right in front of me, and when he saw me, his expression was clearly displeased, but he didn't say anything in front of his mother. After we moved all the water back, my mother-in-law was exhausted and fell asleep as soon as she lay down. My husband pulled me into the room, frowned, and said to me, Yun, what's going on with you today? Mom's attitude toward you had just improved a bit last time, and now you're acting like this. Can't you just go along with her? Go along with her, Li Hui. You know how heavy the water is. Your mother wanted me to carry it all down the mountain by myself, and you still want me to go along with her. Yun, my mom has had a tough life too. My dad passed away early, and she raised me all by herself. Now that she can finally enjoy some peace, just go along with her a little, okay? Didn't you say just last time that since mom is getting old, we should treat her well? My husband's words made me laugh in anger. This man is just shameless. His mother raised him and worked hard all these years, yet now it's up to me to take care of her. It seems I've been quite successful as a doctor. I've suddenly given my husband a conscience and cured his eyes, allowing him to see how hard his mother used to work. Fine, then you be the one to treat her well. Li Jun, I used to put up with it because I loved you, but you always make me endure. And I'm almost turning into a ninja turtle. I don't want to put up with it anymore, and I'm done with this life. After saying that, I packed up my things and stormed out, slamming the door behind me. Don't talk about enduring for a while and waiting to see their comeuppance before tearing off the mask. I I couldn't stay in such a home for another minute. Besides, with this mother and son, are we really afraid they'll grow a brain after I left? I applied to the hospital for an external training opportunity. I originally thought that after I left, Li Hui and his mother would be able to manage on their own. However, less than a week later, he called me. Yuan, are you still upset? I was wrong that day. I shouldn't have lost my temper with you, but I was just so worried about my mom. What if she had hurt her back? Then why weren't you worried about me hurting my back? I replied with a nonchalant tone, and Li Hui fell silent. He couldn't figure out how I had become so articulate now, especially since I never used to fight back even when his mother was particularly harsh on me. Yuan, I was just too anxious this time. Next time, I'll definitely go with you. It seemed something had happened. Otherwise, Li Hui wouldn't have been explaining himself to me like this. I didn't feel like guessing, so I asked directly what happened at home. It's all because of my mom. Ever since she got the idea that drinking mountain spring water can lead to longevity, she's been drinking it every day. That wouldn't be a problem, but she also believes that if she gets sick, she doesn't need to go to the hospital. Just drinking mountain spring water will cure her. The other day, she choked on a chicken bone while eating chicken soup and absolutely refused to go to the hospital. Li Hui quickly explained the matter to me, his tone also quite angry, making it clear that he finally realized just how troublesome his mother could be. I didn't expect his mother to actually have a mental issue. From what he said, it's been going on for a few days, and it's probably already inflamed and festering. Unfortunately, I am studying out of town and really can't make it back. I remember in the past, whenever something happened to Li Hui's mother, she and her son would always call me back to handle it. No matter what I was doing at the time, they always had to come first. Even if it's just a trivial matter like a broken light at home, I have to go back and fix it, as if only they are human and I'm not. Outsourcing filial piety is truly the method of showing respect that Li Hui is best at. Honey, it's not that I don't want to go back, I'm just too busy, but since mom hasn't said anything, it probably isn't a big deal. Keep an eye on it for now, and if you really can't figure it out, go to the hospital. Without waiting for Li Hui to say anything, I hung up the phone directly. Seeing that I wasn't coming back, Li Hui was filled with helpless rage. He wanted to vent his emotions but didn't know who to direct it at, so he could only drag his exhausted body to take care of his mother. Mom, just go to the hospital. If you wait too long, something is bound to go wrong. No, I've already told you that mountain spring water can cure illnesses, but you just won't listen. If you hadn't found out today, maybe in a couple of days I would have been fine. Before, your wife was controlling me, and now that she's gone, you're here to control me too. How heartless. My mother-in-law glared at Li Hui and tightly hugged the mountain spring water in her hands, afraid it might be snatched away. Unfortunately, my mother-in-law still had to go to the hospital later to have the chicken bone removed surgically. I heard the flesh in her throat had started to rot. And if she hadn't had the surgery, who knows what could have happened. When I got home, I happened to see my mother-in-law scolding Li Hui. I already said I didn't want to go. Look how much money this cost. It could have bought me so much mountain spring water. Hearing the door open and realizing I was back, my mother-in-law finally stopped talking. She looks noticeably less well than before. It seems the surgery has really taken a toll on her. Li Hui was actually quite happy to see me back. During the time I was away, he not only had to do laundry and housework when he got home but also deal with his mother, which left him utterly exhausted. He was so tired that he didn't even bother shaving his beard. Honey, you're finally back. I've missed you so much. He tried to rush over and give me a big hug, but I nimbly dodged him. All right, I'm tired too. Let's get some rest. After saying that, I went back to my own room, not wanting to engage in any more pretense with them. Li Hui seemed completely unaware of my coldness, still thinking I was the same as before. After he finished showering and got into bed, he tried to hug me, but I pushed him away. All right, I'm tired too, let's get some rest. Li Hui still wanted to say something, but he has always been a chauvinist. Seeing me like this, he didn't want to be met with a cold shoulder, so he turned around angrily, covered his head, and fell into a deep sleep. I didn't care whether he was angry or not. Getting angry only hurts your own body, and if he wasn't worried about it, I certainly didn't need to be. The next morning, Li Hui was still giving me the cold shoulder. I glanced at him, said nothing, and walked out the door. There was a lot to do at the hospital today, and I couldn't afford to be late because of him. By the time I arrived at the hospital, patients had already started coming in one after another. During work, I completely lost track of time. If it weren't for the nurse reminding me to go for lunch, I wouldn't have realized it was already noon. Yuan, by the way, last time I saw your husband bringing your mother-in-law to the hospital, and she was even admitted. Did something happen? Someone who's close to me spotted me and came over to chat. It's just that the elderly are sick and refuse to come to the hospital. They keep dragging it out until minor issues turn into major problems. I shook my head and pretended to say helplessly. The others also felt the same way, especially those whose mothers-in-law acted similarly as daughters-in-law. It wasn't easy for them to say anything. After finishing the meal, I was just about to head back to work when Li Hui called me. I raised an eyebrow. This person was still scowling this morning, so why is he taking the initiative to call me now? Hello, Yuan. You finally answered the phone. Mom's in trouble again. I did the math and figured it must be that my mother-in-law's cancer has been diagnosed. Sure enough, Li Hui mentioned that last time when his mother-in-law went to the hospital, he had her get a physical checkup as well. Not checking was fine, but the results were shocking. His mother-in-law was actually diagnosed with lung cancer, and although it was in the early stages, it was accompanied by parasitic and chemical poisoning in the previous life. His mother-in-law didn't drink the mountain spring water, so only lung cancer was detected, and there were no other health issues. Li Hui panicked immediately and called me without a moment's delay. I chuckled to myself. When his mother had an issue, instead of taking her to the hospital, he called me. Wasn't it just to have me run around and handle everything? But it's good that I go. Lest Li Hui stops his mother from drinking the mountain spring water. When people get old, they still need something to hold on to spiritually. I took a leave of absence and took my mother-in-law to another hospital for a checkup. After all, I didn't want to lose face in front of my colleagues. We finally got our turn, and as soon as we entered, the doctor started discussing my mother-in-law's health condition. It's still in the early stages, and with proper treatment, it can be controlled. But regarding the parasites and chemical substances, I'd like to ask what your family usually eats or if you've been to any particular places. My mother-in-law likes to drink mountain spring water, which is fetched from the neighboring mountain. Do you think it has any impact? Upon hearing this, the doctor frowned. Drinking mountain spring water occasionally is fine, but consuming it over a long period could very likely lead to parasitic infections. You must stop drinking it from now on. With proper treatment, you should recover soon. You quack, what nonsense are you spouting? My mother-in-law immediately flushed with anger and glared at the doctor. How can you say that? Experts have said that drinking mountain spring water is beneficial for health. Who do you think you are? Some kind of expert, telling me not to drink mountain spring water if it delays my chance to live a long life. Can you take responsibility for that? She wasn't content with just being sharp-tongued. She swept everything off the doctor's desk onto the floor, transforming into a master of desk clearing. The doctor and nurses were startled and quickly called security to escort the mother-in-law out. As the dutiful daughter-in-law, I didn't forget to pick up the medicine for my mother-in-law, so I could give Li Hui an explanation when he asked. This was also my final gift to Li Hui before the divorce. Unfortunately, now is not the right time for a divorce, but it's getting close. Judging by my mother-in-law's antics, I believe the time for my freedom is not far off. After returning home, my mother-in-law remained angry, thinking the hospital was no good, that the doctor who treated her was incompetent, and even suspecting that her cancer diagnosis was a misdiagnosis. In the end, all that anger was directed at me. After cursing the doctor, my mother-in-law started cursing me. You're just being stingy and don't want to spend money on me, aren't you? Otherwise, why wouldn't you take me to a better hospital? Let me tell you, don't even think about cutting off my mountain spring water. I bought that with my own money. Mom, stop right there. I chuckled. I never said I wanted to cut off your mountain spring water. It's just that Li Hui will definitely find out about this, and what he decides to do is none of my business. My mother-in-law remembered that I hadn't actually tried to stop her, so she pursed her lips. But then she immediately hardened her tone and said, well, then don't tell Hui. He cares about me, and if he finds out I'm sick, he'll definitely try to stop me from drinking it. This person is really strange. When I stop her, it's seen as me being unkind, but when her son stops her, it's considered filial piety. I sneered coldly. This wasn't up to her. Li Hui is her son, and I won't take on responsibilities that should be his. As soon as Li Hui returned in the evening, I told him about the test results and what the doctor had said. Sure enough, as soon as he heard this, he wanted me to persuade his mother. Yuan, you go talk to Mom. You're a doctor, she'll definitely listen to you. Looking at this man, I really don't know how I ever fell for him in the past. I must have been blind. Li Hui, I've already tried to persuade her, but Mom won't listen to me. You're her son, you should go instead. Mom will surely understand that you have her best interests at heart. Li Hui also knew that the relationship between his mother and me wasn't good, so he nodded and said he would find a time to talk to his mother. I don't care whether he was just saying it or actually planning to say it. I've done my utmost. Li Hui waited several days before bringing the matter up with his mother-in-law, and they ended up having an argument, but the mother-in-law remained stubborn in her opinion. So Li Hui had no choice but to pour out all the mountain spring water and replace it with tap water from home while she was away. As a good daughter-in-law, I couldn't let my mother-in-law be deceived, so I deliberately mentioned the matter while talking on the phone with a friend. Just as my mother-in-law was coming home, she overheard it. Upon learning the truth, my mother-in-law was furious again. As soon as Li Hui returned home in the evening, he was met with her storm of anger. Li Hui, I worked so hard to raise you, and I never expected anything in return from you, but you actually secretly poured out my mountain spring water. You don't want me to live anymore. No wonder I've been feeling unwell these past few days. It turns out it's because I haven't been drinking the mountain spring water. If I hadn't overheard your wife's phone call, I might have died without even knowing why. As she spoke, the mother-in-law began to cry on the balcony, shouting, "What a disgrace to the family. I raised an ungrateful son who won't even let me drink water." Soon, a crowd gathered outside, as there were plenty of people eager to watch a spectacle. Seeing this, Li Hui quickly pulled his mother back inside, not wanting to lose face for no reason. "All right, Mom, drink, just drink." He sat on the sofa, covering his face, utterly helpless. He had no idea when his mother had become so unreasonable. It took him a while to calm down before he finally noticed me. It seemed as if he had thought of something, his eyes filled with blame. Yuan, look at you, you weren't careful at all when making that call, and my mom overheard it, causing so much trouble. My mom already doesn't like you normally, so you should have been even more careful. Maybe then her attitude toward you would have been a little better, and I could have had an easier time too. You're blaming me. I was utterly confused. Li Hui, how was I supposed to know your mom would come home so soon? I was just making a phone call in my own house. Is that even a mistake? Honey, that's not what I meant. Seeing that I was furious, Li Hui immediately tried to make amends. He was quite skilled at slapping someone and then offering a sweet date. He had it down to an art. I slapped away his hand as he tried to touch me. Disgusting thing. Stay away from me. That's exactly what you mean. You want me not only to earn money outside but also to dress up beautifully to bring you face, and on top of that, take good care of the household. You know perfectly well how your mother usually treats me. Instead of trying to ease the tension between us, you want to use me as your tool to play the bad guy, making me the one everyone dislikes. You really have it all figured out, don't you? Getting a free nanny without spending a single penny. And one who's willing to work tirelessly. Ask yourself honestly, have you ever treated my parents as well as I've treated your mother? Fine, since that's what you think, and I truly can't meet those expectations, then let's just get a divorce. You can go find a new wife who meets all your requirements in every way. After saying that, I went back to my room without even looking back. Slamming the door and storming out like in a TV drama would indeed feel satisfying. But I paid the monthly mortgage for this house, so why should I be the one to leave? If anyone has to go, he should be the one to leave. After that day, I started preparing for the division of assets in the divorce. Li Hui wasn't unwilling to reconcile, but his mother kept urging us to get a divorce. My mother-in-law always wanted a grandson. It wasn't that I didn't want to have one. It was that Li Hui said he didn't want to have children during his career advancement period. But my mother-in-law didn't see it that way. She always believed it was my fault. Now that we're getting divorced, she can't wait to set off firecrackers in celebration. She's even willing to compromise on marital property, just to get the divorce finalized quickly. That way, Li Hui can remarry sooner and give her a grandson to take care of. The day I walked out of the Civil Affairs Bureau, I felt a great sense of relief. The fate of a tragic death in my previous life had finally left me. Li Hui stood behind me, gazing at me with deep affection in his eyes. He probably still had some feelings for me. After all, it's not easy to find a woman who is beautiful, earns well, and takes good care of the home. Just looking at his eyes made me sick. Li Hui, although I am your ex-wife now and your mother has no relation to me anymore, as a doctor, I still want to remind you, since your mother is already ill, she should receive proper treatment and not engage in all sorts of unnecessary things. Seeing that Li Hui misunderstood, thinking I still had feelings for him, which is why I reminded him, I immediately turned and walked away. I wasn't giving a kind reminder. I wanted to stir up another argument between Li Hui and his mother, preferably one that would shake the heavens and split the earth. After all, the more miserable my enemies are, the happier I am after leaving that home. I threw myself wholeheartedly into my work. Unfortunately, I still heard news about Li Hui and his mother from time to time. Hey, that old lady just caused another big scene. Again, not to be rude, but if she thinks her condition is worsening because the hospital's medicine is useless, why does she keep coming to the hospital every other day? So, I heard they say that Auntie really believes in the health experts' recommendation that drinking mountain spring water leads to a long life. If she just moves to the mountains, wouldn't she be able to drink it every day? The story of Li Hui's mother has spread throughout hospitals across the city. The hottest topic in the medical community right now is which hospital she's causing a scene at today. However, over time, reports of her causing disturbances at hospitals gradually decreased. One reason is that many hospitals have blacklisted her, so she can no longer enter. Second, because she was brainwashed by health experts into believing that only mountain spring water could save her, she sold the family house, moved into the mountains, and drank mountain spring water every day. I laughed when I heard this news. I remember when we were getting divorced and I asked for money. As soon as Li Hui's mother heard the news, she urged Li Hui to transfer the house into her name. Actually, she had wanted to do this from the very beginning when we bought the house. And Li Hui was also willing to do it. After all, she was his mother, so it didn't matter whose name the house was under. Li Hui even told me that his mother had a hard time raising him, and we should be extra filial to her. It's just that our family firmly opposed this matter, so they didn't succeed. Now, after the divorce, Li Hui finally got to be filial to his mother and became a dutiful son, unexpectedly. He was tricked by his mother. Not only did he lose the house, but even his bank card was stolen, leaving him with nothing but bare walls. Li Hui still wants to come back to me, begging me to remarry him. I kicked him out of the hospital. It's truly shamelessness that makes one invincible. We've already torn up all pretense between us, and yet he still expects me to clean up his mess. I immediately blocked all his contact information, went to his company to report him, and after that, I felt incredibly refreshed, as if my health had improved significantly. Li Hui's mother was in the early stages of cancer, which could actually be controlled, but she was just too stubborn, not only refusing to take medication or undergo checkups, but also insisting on moving to the village, drinking mountain spring water contaminated with parasites and chemicals every day. It didn't take long for her condition to worsen, and the next time she was seen, she was emaciated and hospitalized, even while lying in her hospital bed. She kept insisting on drinking the mountain spring water, claiming it would grant her a long life and cure her illness. In this life, we are completely different from the previous one. In the previous life, Li Hui's mother also had cancer, but I took meticulous care of her, and she looked no different from a normal elderly woman. But in this life, she is nothing but a skeleton, with worms wriggling beneath a thin layer of skin. Looking utterly terrifying, I looked down at her from above, just as she looked at me when she pushed me down in the previous life. Yuan, call Hui. She spoke with great difficulty. I had heard from others that Li Hui had cut ties with her because she sold the house and stole all his money, so naturally, he wouldn't come to see her now. I couldn't stand the thought of an elderly person being left alone and helpless in the hospital, so I immediately had someone report the abandonment of an elderly person to the police. Li Hui would have to come, whether he wanted to or not. After all, his mother raised him with great difficulty, and now that she's old, Li Hui can't just ignore her. So every day, I see Li Hui sitting impatiently in the hospital room playing games. He doesn't even care when his mother soils herself, and the room stinks so much that other patients have complained. He won't listen when asked to clean up, and if you say too much, he just acts shamelessly, telling anyone who can't stand it to move his mother to a private room. Others really didn't know how to deal with this kind of person, so they had no choice but to swallow their anger. However, some people didn't put up with Li Hui and directly threw his mother's diaper at his head, even stuffing it into his mouth. I wasn't on the scene at the time and missed seeing it, which is truly a pity. After this, I no longer wanted to pay any attention to them. Li Hui, who outsourced his filial duties, was held hostage by his sense of obligation, unable to work and escaping reality through gaming. My former mother-in-law, who caused my death, fell ill and now lives a life worse than death. Meanwhile, I became a top-tier cardiology expert. When I grew old, reaching the age of Li Hui's mother, my own children had also grown up. I don't get involved in their lives at all. I listen carefully to all their concerns. This is the way families should interact, and it's a lesson I learned from Li Hui and his mother. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. The mother-in-law left her granddaughter at the amusement park and went alone to buy lottery tickets. The next day, the lottery results came out. She won 200 million, but my daughter was gone. I demanded to know where she had left my daughter. She cried, saying she had held her hand tightly and didn't know how the child had disappeared. I was furious and ready to fight her, but my husband stopped me, saying his mother had raised him with great difficulty and that I should let it go. I can't believe he actually said such things. I threatened to divorce him, and without a second thought, he immediately agreed. Alone, I began the journey to find my daughter. Who would have thought that a month later, a scorching apocalypse would strike? My parents in the countryside begged me on their knees to return home for safety, only for us to discover my daughter's decomposing body in the wilderness on the way back. I completely lost my mind. Ignoring my parents' pleas, I rushed back to the city to avenge my daughter, but when I returned to my old home, it was already empty and deserted. I wandered in nearly 60-degree heat, desperately trying to find the old woman. Until 3 months later, when the high temperatures ended and the rainy days arrived, by chance, I saw my husband passionately kissing my former best friend on a luxury yacht in the rain. They found me and tied me back to a luxurious mountaintop villa. Only then did I learn that, the day before my daughter was sold, my husband's mistress, who was also my best friend, was 4 months pregnant and had found out it was a boy. My mother-in-law was overjoyed, to make room for her grandson. She simply sold my daughter, and the person who bought my daughter was none other than the mistress's older brother, still single at 30 in their hometown. The 3-year-old daughter was brutally abused to death by an old bachelor and her body was dumped in the wilderness. After selling her daughter, the mother-in-law bought a lottery ticket to celebrate and unexpectedly won a 200 million jackpot, which became the key to their family's survival in the apocalypse. Mommy, mommy. What's wrong with you? The child's voice, long etched into my bones, rang in my ears, making me think I was hallucinating again. During the months of searching for my daughter, such voices often echoed in my ears, until a soft touch reached my hand. Following the sensation, I looked down and saw the person I had been longing for day and night, her big, watery eyes filled with concern as she gazed at me. In disbelief, I whispered softly, "Tina, Mom, Tina is here. Mom, what's wrong with you?" Wah. Tina was scared to tears by me. I collapsed onto the ground, staring at her without daring to blink, until tears covered my eyes. I finally burst into loud sobs. "Tina, my precious, Mommy finally found you. Wawa, Mommy will never leave you again. Mommy, don't cry. Wawa, Mommy won't leave Tina." I don't know how long we mother and daughter held each other crying, until the sound of the door opening interrupted us, with my mother-in-law's coarse voice appearing in the living room. "Oh, what's going on here? I could hear you two crying from far away, on such a good day. How unlucky." I stopped crying, held my daughter, and sat down on the sofa, my gaze fixed on the rabbit-shaped clock in the living room. It was 5:47 p.m. She had left since a little past 7 in the morning. An entire day had passed. I looked at my mother-in-law. Her narrow, triangular eyes were filled with nothing but disdain for me and Tina. In my past life, it wasn't that I didn't know she disliked me. I had barely given birth to Tina for less than a year when she started pressuring me to have a second child, saying their old Smith family couldn't be without a son. Seeing how she favored boys over girls, how could I dare to have another? I told her Tina would be my only child in this lifetime, and my husband supported me at the time. Who would have thought that mother and son would pull off something so shocking behind my back? I wiped Tina's tears while lowering my gaze to hide the hatred in my eyes, asking, "Mom, where have you been all day?" She placed the shopping bag on the coffee table, a flicker of guilt flashing in her eyes. "Where else could I go? Didn't you ask me to come take care of your child?" I had to familiarize myself with the surroundings. "I've been walking around all day. I'm exhausted." She glanced at me, mumbling under her breath as she picked up a glass of water to drink. Hearing her words, I couldn't help but scream in my heart. "Yes, I did ask you to look after my child, but I never told you to sell my child. You're the child's grandmother. How could you be so cruel? You're a woman too. How could you despise a girl so much?" I took a deep breath, suppressing the anger in my heart. Tina is 3 years old this year, the age to start kindergarten, due to a difficult pregnancy and childbirth. I've been out of the workforce for 4 years. I'm a top graduate from a 985 university. My parents worked hard to get me into a good college, not to become a housewife, so I had long planned to go back to work when my child started kindergarten. Originally, the plan was for my mother to take care of the child, but when Tina was 1 year old, my mom was working in the fields, accidentally fell, and lost sight in one eye. The other eye has started to develop presbyopia these past 2 years. With the hustle and bustle of city traffic, I was afraid she might have an accident while taking the child to and from school, so I considered hiring a live-in nanny, who knew my mother-in-law found out about this and made a huge scene, calling me wasteful. I initially ignored her, until my husband said his mother wanted to come look after the child and asked me to give her the $8,000 we had set aside each month for a nanny. At first, I disagreed, but I couldn't stand my husband constantly sending me videos of live-in nannies abusing children, nor my mother-in-law calling me every other day to sweet-talk me. Seeing her change in attitude, I thought, after all, she's the child's own grandmother, and with the $8,000 I'd be giving her each month, surely she'd be more reliable than a stranger. Who would have known that this one wrong decision of mine would forever separate me from my daughter? Seeing her about to walk into the bedroom, I was filled with such hatred that I couldn't help but ask, "How come I heard from Aunt Lucy in the neighborhood that she saw you at the hospital today?" My mother-in-law immediately stopped in her tracks and turned to look at me, visibly flustered. "Did you see me?" "Oh, well, I wasn't feeling well today, so I went to the hospital." "What else did she say?" I looked at her sarcastically and said, "She also mentioned seeing you supporting a young woman and asked if that was Kay's sister." "What's this about Kay's sister? I just saw that young wife was pregnant and wanted to share in the joy. Who told me I don't have a chubby grandson yet?" As she said this, she glared fiercely at Tina. "If I had a grandson, would I still be envious of others? If you had any sense, you'd hurry up and find a job instead of sitting around at home without even bearing a son. Not a single cent of my $8,000 can be missing. Don't think you can use my son's money to fob me off." With that, she turned and went into the bedroom. I watched her retreating figure and let out a cold laugh. Living off others, back when I hadn't resigned yet, my salary was more than double what her son earned. All these years at home, I've been spending from my own savings. Her son, who always talked about starting a business, not only never gave me any money but sometimes even needed my financial support. It wasn't until last year that his small company began to show some signs of improvement. Who would have thought that before his business could truly thrive, he would first manage to have an affair? Feeling a gentle tug on my clothes, I turned my gaze to the daughter in my arms. "What's wrong, Tina?" My daughter looked at me with her big eyes, her little mouth trembling slightly before she spoke. "Mommy, I don't like Grandma. Can Grandma, maternal, come take care of me instead?" My eyes instantly welled up with tears. They say children's emotions are the most sensitive. She must have sensed Grandma's dislike for her too. I kissed her little face and forced a smile, saying, "Don't worry, Tina, Mommy won't let Grandma take you. From now on, Mommy will take care of you herself and won't leave you with anyone else." "Really?" Her eyes instantly lit up, but then dimmed just as quickly. She shook her head and said, "No, I'd rather have Grandma take me. Mommy still has to work. Mommy loves working." My already aching heart grew even more sorrowful. My sensible child, who was abused to death by that scum in our past life. Just thinking about it makes me wish I could suck the marrow from his bones and devour his flesh. In the past, I might have worried about balancing work and life, but now, with the apocalypse coming, who gives a damn about work anymore? I patted her head and said very seriously, "Tina, don't worry. Mommy will definitely take care of you herself, compared to work. Mommy loves Tina more." The child's face immediately blossomed into a smile, and she shyly buried her head in my arms. "Tina prefers her mom over going to school." When it was time for dinner in the evening, I took Tina to eat her favorite burgers and fried chicken. As for the old lady, she certainly wouldn't let herself starve to death. As for Kay, although he told me he was working overtime on a project at the office, he was probably with my dear best friend. After all, she's carrying his precious son. After dinner, I first went to the pharmacy to buy sleeping pills, then spent a fortune at an equipment store to purchase a hidden camera. After that, I took Tina to the amusement park and didn't return home until almost 9 o'clock. When we got home, the old woman was still watching TV. Seeing Tina and me return with armfuls of bags, she rolled her eyes so hard they nearly reached the sky. Just a little girl, spoiled beyond all reason. Tina, frightened by her dark expression, quickly hid behind me. I set down the bags and glared at her coldly, calling others little brats with every breath. "As if you're not a woman yourself. How can you be so self-deprecating? Judy, have you lost your mind? How dare you talk back to me?" Seeing me dare to talk back, her triangular eyes widened instantly as she started shouting, "Do you believe I'll go back tomorrow and never babysit for you again?" I raised my chin and stared straight at her. "You begged to come here and babysit for me. If you don't want to, you can leave right now." Heavens turned upside down. She immediately stood up, grabbed the toy I bought for Tina, and threw it on the ground. "Are you planning to hire a nanny after I leave? $8,000 a month. Do you have any idea how hard my son works to earn that money? These useless things that can't be eaten or drunk. That little money waster only knows how to squander cash." I glanced at the toys on the floor and let out a soft scoff. Not edible, not drinkable. Then in her past life, when she bought a whole room of toys for that little bastard, what was that all about? I looked at her and said, "Words like worthless girl or money-losing burden will never belong to my child. She is a person, a dignified human being, not fodder for your outdated ideas. You willingly degrade yourself and want to be inferior to men, but don't drag my daughter into it. And, you say I'm spending your son's money. That's hilarious. Should I call him right now and ask if I've ever spent a penny of his money?" As I spoke, I picked up my phone, ready to make the call. Seeing that I was serious, she panicked and said through gritted teeth, Fine, no need to call. I won't call her little girl anymore from now on." I chuckled to myself, knowing full well she wouldn't let me make that call. After all, today was their family's big celebration. How could they possibly allow me to ruin it? I gave her a light scoff, picked up the toy from the floor, and took my daughter back to the master bedroom. After bathing my daughter, I poured her a glass of milk and discreetly dropped the white pill into the remaining milk. The old woman had developed a habit of drinking milk ever since she moved in. Originally, it was imported milk I bought for my daughter, but now 2/3 of it ended up in her stomach. In that case, let's settle the grudges from my past life, starting with this glass of milk. After putting my daughter to sleep, I peeked through the door crack and saw the old woman indeed carrying a large glass of milk into the bedroom. I curled my lips into a smirk and picked up the phone to call my brother. "Sis, why are you calling me so late?" My brother Frank sounded surprised. Hearing my brother's voice after so long made me want to cry. In my past life, after he learned what the Smith family had done to our mother and me, he immediately gathered his friends and beat Kay up, landing himself in detention for half a month. When the extreme heat apocalypse came, he risked heatstroke to come get me, even when I broke down upon seeing my daughter's corpse and insisted on going back for revenge, causing our parents endless worry. He never blamed me. Instead, he gave me his full support. He even joined me in tracking down the Smith family for a while, until our mother fell ill at home and he had no choice but to return, fulfilling the filial duties of two people all by himself. I've always felt guilty about him, and now suddenly hearing his voice again, the pain in my heart is impossible to suppress. I took a deep breath, trying my best to calm my emotions. "Frank, can you come to the mall tomorrow?" "What's wrong, sis? Did something happen?" I couldn't hold back any longer, my voice choked with sobs. The bitterness in my heart surged like floodwaters through an open sluice gate, and hearing my family's concern made it impossible to stop the torrent from pouring out. "Sis," my younger brother called out urgently on the other end of the line, his worry palpable even through the phone. "Did brother-in-law hurt you? Don't be afraid. I'll gather the guys and head to the mall right now." My throat burned as if cut by a knife. I clenched my teeth into the blanket, refusing to let my wails escape. It took a long while, until my brother grew so frantic he nearly called the police, before I finally managed to suppress my emotions enough to speak. "Don't worry, I'm fine right now. Come see me tomorrow. There's too much to discuss over the phone. Remember, you must come alone. Don't tell mom and dad. Don't make them worry." "Sis, what exactly is going on? You're being so vague. How could I not be anxious?" I could hear my younger brother pacing anxiously on the other end of the line. But there were just too many things happening, and I couldn't explain everything in a short time. Besides, even if I told him now, he probably wouldn't believe me. He'd likely think Kay had driven me to the point of losing my mind. I repeatedly reassured him, telling him not to worry, to get a good night's sleep, and just drive over tomorrow. Finally hanging up the phone, I packed my and my daughter's luggage while lost in thought. Tomorrow, I would buy the lottery ticket that my mother-in-law was supposed to purchase. In my past life, their family had celebrated their good fortune by taking a photo of that lottery ticket, framing it in a huge frame, and displaying it in the mountaintop villa. When Kay and the others tied me back to the villa, it was beneath this lottery ticket that they revealed the whole truth to me. Later, that lottery ticket became my inner demon, etched deeply into my heart. In this lifetime, I will tear this demon out with my own hands and nail it into the hearts of everyone who has harmed me and my mother. Buzz buzz, the phone vibrated. It was my alarm going off. After arranging the packed suitcases, I retrieved the surveillance camera I had bought from the electronics store for my daughter's pile of toys and began setting it up in the room. After finishing the master bedroom, I then decorated the living room. Finally, I took the key and opened my mother-in-law's bedroom, only to see her lying naked on the bed. The sight nearly made me vomit my dinner from the night before. Afraid of getting an eye infection from the disgusting scene, I quickly installed the equipment and rushed out. I thought I wouldn't be able to sleep tonight, but holding my soft and sweet daughter in my arms and smelling her milky scent, I unexpectedly fell into a deep sleep. It wasn't until the sound of loud banging on the door woke me up. Hearing the urgent knocking, my heart skipped a beat. Could it be Kay coming back? Glancing at my phone, I saw it wasn't even 5 a.m. yet. This shouldn't be happening. He should be with his mistress right now. Why would he come at this hour? I put on my slippers and went to the living room door, peeking through the peephole, only to see my younger brother, Frank. I quickly opened the door and said, "Frank, why are you here at this hour? Didn't I tell you to come during the day? It's so dangerous at night." From our hometown to the provincial capital's shopping district, it takes nearly 4 hours even with smooth traffic. He must have rushed over nonstop the moment I called him. I was both angry and unsurprised. This was exactly the kind of thing he would do. My parents may not be wealthy, but they have an extremely good relationship. They never treated me unfairly just because I was a girl. In fact, they often showed me extra affection precisely because I was their daughter. After I grew more sensible, I understood how much my parents loved me, so I never resented my younger brother, thanks to their proper guidance. The bond between us siblings has always been very strong. My brother didn't respond to what I said. Instead, he first looked me up and down carefully. Seeing that I wasn't injured, he visibly relaxed with a sigh of relief. "Can I not come over? The way you spoke was so terrifying. It nearly scared me to death." He walked in, glanced around, and frowned, asking, "Where's my brother-in-law?" I didn't respond to him but instead led him into the bedroom, pointing at the suitcases and saying, "Help me carry these downstairs first, and I'll explain later." I got into the car driven by my younger brother, holding my daughter who was still sound asleep. My brother's face was cold, his lips pressed tightly together as he stared straight ahead. I sighed and said, "Kay, he cheated on me. Who is it?" My brother's voice was as cold as the depths of winter. "Mia." "What?" My brother slammed on the brakes, nearly causing a rear-end collision. I quickly changed the subject. Only after we arrived at the hotel and settled our daughter in did I say, "No doubt about it. It's her." My brother frowned deeply. "Wasn't she your best friend?" "Yeah, she's my best friend. We're from neighboring villages, attended the same school from elementary through high school, and were even in the same class and dormitory until high school. We only separated when she went to a regular class because her grades weren't as good as mine, while I was placed in the advanced class. Even so, our bond never weakened. We not only ate meals and went to the restroom together every day, but she even chose to attend college in the same city as me. In my previous life, I had always thought she was my best friend until I saw her kissing Kay on the yacht. It wasn't until she held her son and flaunted it in front of me, with a chain around my neck, that I realized everything. Turns out, she had set her sights on my husband as early as when she was my bridesmaid. All because she heard Kay mention during the wedding that he was currently starting a business. She had marked him as her target. She said that I had always been more outstanding than her since childhood, but not as beautiful as she was. She wanted to tell me that excellent achievements were nothing compared to a beautiful appearance. In the end, she won. My highly educated husband went to a hotel with her the first time she seduced him. After that, she became my husband's secretary. While I was at home taking care of the kids, she gave my husband romantic escapades. Just as I was preparing to re-enter the workforce and become a career woman, she gave my husband a son. Unlike what Kay told me about the company just breaking even, in reality, the company had already started turning a profit by then, though not much. An annual net profit of over $1 million was more than achievable. But this money never made it into my pocket. It was intercepted by Mia. Seeing the company's thriving situation, she secretly began planning to get pregnant. After confirming her pregnancy, she started guarding against the possibility of my daughter competing with her child for the family fortune in the future. So, after confirming she was carrying a boy, she found someone to whisper in my mother-in-law's ear. That's how the old woman ended up abandoning my daughter at the amusement park. Actually, everything was orchestrated by Mia behind the scenes. As for why she had my daughter sold by her brother, she said it was purely to disgust me, because I had always been better than her and overshadowed her. Knowing her brother had peculiar fetishes, when Tina was abused by him, she even had him record a video, just waiting for the right moment to send it to me so I could enjoy it. She just hadn't anticipated that the apocalypse would come, cutting off the internet and delaying her plan. After they dragged me back to the villa, not only did I have to endure daily torture from Mia's brother Bob, but I was also forced to watch videos of my daughter being abused. At that time, my heart was like an anthill, riddled with holes from the torment, yet I masochistically refused to bite my tongue and end it all, because I always believed it was my fault that Tina suffered. If I hadn't agreed to let my mother-in-law come, my daughter wouldn't have died so tragically. I punished myself with self-inflicted torment. It wasn't until they had tortured me to my last breath that I finally understood. Actually, it wasn't my fault. They wanted Tina's life, and I couldn't possibly guard against it. If it hadn't happened now, it would have happened at another time, but it was already too late, and there was no room left for me to make amends. Fortunately, fate gave me a second chance at life. In this lifetime, I will repay them hundreds and thousands of times over for the pain they inflicted on me and my daughter. My younger brother sat across from me, quietly listening to everything I said, his elbows resting on his knees, his head in his hands, tears falling one after another. "Sis, I'm going to kill those scumbags." His eyes bloodshot, he stood up and walked out. I quickly grabbed hold of him. "Frank, it's not the right time yet. Of course they all have to die, but not now. We can't throw away our lives because of them. They're not worth it. The current order is still intact. If we really kill them, my brother would also face imprisonment." Under my forceful pull, my brother sat down. I continued, "Frank, do you believe what I said about rebirth and the apocalypse?" He looked at me, wiped his tears, and smiled bitterly. "I believe you." "Why?" I was somewhat surprised that my younger brother believed it so easily. I had thought it would take more effort. Suspiciously, I looked at him, wondering if he had also been reborn. My brother shook his head and said, "I haven't been reborn. Just yesterday, I was doing renovations for a family in Bob's village and accidentally overheard a conversation between Bob and his mother. His mother told him to stop preying on the young girls in the village, saying they were still children, and if caught, he would go to jail." I felt sick and furious at the time. I initially thought about calling the police or telling the kids' parents, but first, I didn't know who those kids were, and second, I had no concrete evidence. Even if I reported it, the police might not believe me, and I could even be sued for defamation by the Collins family. Actually, I had already bought a camera and was planning to secretly install it near his house late at night. But then I suddenly got your call and came here instead. You definitely didn't know about this. Now that you've mentioned his perversion, I know everything you said is true. Listening to my brother's account, the rage inside me felt like it could burn me to ashes. That beast is worse than a pig or a dog. Those children, they were still so young. I turned to my brother and said, "Frank, we can't just stand by and do nothing. Even if the apocalypse is coming, we have to stop him from harming more people. Those children could die from the heat or the storms. But they must not die under that beast's pants." "I know, sis. Let's hurry back to our hometown now." My brother glanced at his phone and said, "According to your timeline, we still have a whole month before the apocalypse. That's plenty of time to go home and prepare. When the time comes, we can use disaster avoidance methods to get Kay to bring his mom to our place. Then, life and death will be in our hands." As for the Collins family, those bastards, instead of sending them to prison where they'll be fed and housed, we might as well take matters into our own hands and deliver justice ourselves. Plus, we can settle the score for what they did to you and Tina in your past lives. Listening to my brother's clear and logical analysis, I nodded repeatedly. He really was on the same wavelength as me. There's just one thing that differs from what I thought. "Frank, you're absolutely right. But there's one thing, we can't go back to our hometown." "Why?" my younger brother asked in confusion. "Because only in a provincial capital can we get the latest and fastest updates," I explained to him. Based on my experience from my past life, the government remained in disaster relief mode until my death. While they couldn't help everyone, the aid available in provincial capitals was definitely more substantial than what rural areas received, although I have memories from my past life. I can't avoid all dangers. To minimize risks, our best option is to live under the government's established order. The younger brother hesitated, but with the apocalypse and natural disasters, will order still exist? I nodded firmly. I can't say for other countries, but in China, as long as the world doesn't end, order will definitely exist. It's just a matter of whether it's good or bad. Convinced by my words, my brother's eyes showed confidence in our country. But then he scratched his head in hesitation. "But if we live in the provincial capital, where would we stay? My savings might be enough to buy a house in a small county town, but they fall far short for the provincial capital." I laughed and lightly tapped his head with a magazine from the table. "Don't you still have your big sister? It's already quite impressive for this kid to have saved up enough for a house by his early 20s. How many people at his age still have to rely on others for financial support?" It seems that when he didn't get into college, the decision to have him learn a trade was the right one. He still doesn't know about my upcoming lottery ticket purchase and looks at me in confusion. "Sis, the money you had must be almost gone by now, right? Mom mentioned the other day that she'd give you some after selling the wheat." I'm deeply moved by how my parents have always treated my brother and me fairly when it comes to money, unlike other parents who claim not to favor sons over daughters but end up spending all the family's money on buying cars and houses for their sons, while giving their daughters only a few quilts and some furniture as dowry. When I married Kay, my mother directly gave me a dowry of $200,000, which was half of my parents' savings over the past 20 years. Neither my brother nor I received a penny more. It was completely fair. However, I later gave this money to Kay, and it became the startup capital for his company. Now it's all for nothing. I wrote a string of numbers on a piece of paper. Frank asked puzzled, "What is this?" "Tomorrow's 200 million lottery winning numbers." Holy shit. He jumped 3 feet high, staring at me in shock. "Is this real? Would I lie to you?" I rolled my eyes at him dramatically. He immediately started grinning foolishly with the lottery ticket in hand. "I was just thinking about using all the IDs at home to scrape together loans for stockpiling supplies, but now I don't need to. Ha ha ha. Alright, stop grinning like an idiot. Get some sleep now. When you wake up, I'll need you to keep an eye on Kevin and his mom for me. I can't let her go sell lottery tickets too." Once it was past 9, I disguised myself and went to the nearest lottery shop to buy that number. Afterward, I wandered outside for an hour and changed into new clothes at a clothing store before returning. Meanwhile, I had Frank keep an eye on the cameras I set up at home. Back at the hotel, it was almost 11 o'clock, and Frank immediately looked at me. "Sis, she noticed you left, did she?" I replayed the surveillance footage. Around 10 o'clock, the old woman was awakened by her phone. Being elderly, she always kept her phone volume very loud, so the surveillance could clearly capture Kay's voice from the other end. "Mom, how's the matter coming along?" "What matter?" The old woman rubbed her head as she sat up, a sign of having slept too much. "What's the matter?" Kay's voice suddenly rose. "Did you forget? We agreed on it yesterday." At this point, his voice lowered again, about taking Tina to the amusement park and losing her there. Oh dear, my brain. How could I forget such an important thing? She hurriedly put on her clothes and got out of bed. "Don't worry, son, I'll take her to the amusement park right now. I won't let her come back with me. That little brat thinks she can share the inheritance with my grandson. She doesn't deserve it." Mia was right. Kay was indeed one of the conspirators. In my previous life, after our daughter went missing, he pretended to search with me for a week, but in reality, every time he went out to look, he was actually visiting Mia. At that time, the temperature had already begun to show abnormal signs. Daily highs of 42 to 43 degrees Celsius became the norm. While I was outside searching for our daughter, fainting daily from heatstroke, he was indoors in an air-conditioned room, embracing his beloved wife and indulging in romantic pleasures. He must have known about his mother winning the lottery by then. It's hard to believe he kept acting in front of me every day, pretending to be worried. Actually, if it weren't for his mother's lottery win, their plan was to drive me insane, have me committed to a mental hospital, and then take over the current house and company for themselves. After all, as long as I lost the ability to fight back, there would be no issue of dividing assets with Kay. The old woman came out in her slippers, adjusting her kindly smile as she headed to my bedroom, only for her expression to drop the moment she stepped inside. She quickly called Kay back, screeching like a rubber chicken. "Son, Judy and that little brat are both gone." "What? Where did they go?" Kay shouted back, and even Mia's voice could be heard asking what was going on. "No idea. All the clothes in the closet are gone." The old woman rummaged frantically through my bedroom before suddenly freezing, as if struck by a thought. "Oh no, son, could she have found out about my precious grandson? Yesterday, when I got back from the hospital, she said someone saw me helping Mia." "What? Why didn't you tell me yesterday?" Kay was frantic. The old woman left the bedroom and headed to the kitchen. I knew she always drank water first thing every morning. She didn't ask further, so it probably wasn't about that. As soon as she finished speaking, a loud thud suddenly came through the video. "Ouch, Mom, what's wrong?" Kay asked over there. "That damn little bitch spilled oil all over the kitchen floor, nearly killed me with that fall." My younger brother couldn't help but burst into laughter at this scene. "That damn old hag. Why didn't she just fall to her death?" I laughed too, watching her lying motionless on the ground. A small portion of the hatred in my heart dissipated. But how could this possibly be enough? This is only the beginning. I dragged the video forward by about half an hour, and both Kay and the ambulance arrived at the same time. The old woman was still cursing and grumbling. "Son, you must avenge me. This unfilial bitch actually dared to harm me." Her foul language made the medical staff present frown. Kay, who usually cares about saving face, frowned at his mother. "Mom, stop cursing. We don't even know if it's Judy yet. I can't reach her by phone right now. When we find her, I'll make sure she kneels and apologizes to you." "Kneel and apologize? Let's see who will be kneeling to apologize when the time comes." At this point, I turned off the video and powered on my phone. As soon as it turned on, Kay's call came through immediately. "Judy, where are you? Did you know my mom fell? Why didn't you clean up the oil spill in the kitchen? Do you think it's easy for me to work outside? Is this how you show filial piety to elders? Hurry up and come home. My mother is still waiting in the hospital for someone to take care of her." Before I could even say a word, he bombarded me with commands, complaints, and accusations. I don't know when that boy who used to have eyes only for me changed. He once pursued me diligently too. He even drove hundreds of kilometers back from a business trip just to be intimate with me. At our wedding, just like others, he cried uncontrollably in front of the officiant, probably just as he said in his past life. He pursued me only because I was the top student in my field, and dating me was a matter of pride at school. Driving hundreds of kilometers home to be intimate with me was also because the company was still in debt at the time, and the woman at home was clean and beautiful. Not to mention the toll fees were cheaper than hiring a prostitute. How did I feel when I heard these words back then? It felt like my already shattered heart was crumbling even further. The pain of losing my daughter was momentarily forgotten because of his words. I went mad, clawing at him, cursing him with the most vicious words, yet he stood beneath the framed lottery ticket, watching me like I was some kind of clown. And how did he treat me later? Oh, I remember now. He threw me into the dark room and had Bob visit with 5 people at any time. Now I've long seen through him and won't have any emotional fluctuations because of these words of his, but for now, I still have to placate him, because once he finds out I have 200 million in my hands, I'm certain he would immediately divorce me to split the assets. There's still 1 month left before the apocalypse begins. If he files for divorce now, he might really take half of my money. I can't take that risk. I adjusted my tone and said, "Honey, what are you talking about? Mom fell down." "I don't know. Yesterday, Frank called me and said my mom got injured while working. I rushed to see her and took the earliest high-speed train, so I never even entered the kitchen. Could it be that Mom accidentally spilled it on the floor? Whoever spilled it, you need to come back right now. My mom is still waiting for someone to take care of her." Kay interrupted me over there. I laughed. Why didn't I realize how shameless Kay was in my previous life, not taking care of his own mother, but asking me to do it? Who gave him the nerve? I said, "No way. I have to take care of my mom. You take care of yours yourself." "Judy, do you even know how to write the word filial piety? A daughter married off is like water spilled on the ground. Now you're the daughter-in-law of our Smith family. My mother is sick, so it's your duty to take care of her. Besides, doesn't your mother still have your father and brother? Why should you step forward and make a scene?" His words were harsh, but they completely revealed his true nature. If it weren't for the plans ahead, I really couldn't be bothered to say another word to him. "Here's what we'll do, honey. I'm almost back home now, and turning around isn't an option. I'll use my money to hire a caregiver for Mom." "How does that sound? A caregiver? What about Mom's hospital bills and nutritional expenses?" "You know my company can't cover any of that right now. I'll cover those too. Consider it my filial duty as a daughter-in-law. After all, she only came to the city to see Tina, otherwise she wouldn't have taken that fall." I speak disgusting words against my conscience. "That works. At least you're sensible," Kay said with satisfaction, then added, "So when are you coming back?" "Probably towards the end of summer break. By then, Tina will be starting school, so it's the perfect time for me to return." "All right, make sure to call me when you're back." Calling you to plan selling the child again." I hung up and transferred 50,000 to Kay. My brother, listening beside me, was panting with anger. "Sis, how could Kay be so shameless now? It really makes me want to beat him to death. The company is thriving now, no longer the small business that needed my dowry to fill its financial holes." I sneered. "Frank, call Mom right now and tell her to pretend she fell and got hurt. Don't let her go out anymore. Mia is very sharp, and her home is close to ours. If she gets suspicious and asks her parents to verify in our village, it would do more harm than good." My younger brother nodded. "All right, I'll make the call right away." "What about Bob? He didn't manage to take Tina away today, so he must be planning to go back, right?" After a moment of thought, I said, "Register a new WeChat account, transfer him $10,000, and tell him not to leave the provincial capital. If we give him 10,000 every day, he'll have no choice but to obey." The younger brother frowned. "Why should we give him money for nothing? Who does he think he is?" I patted his shoulder. "This is the simplest solution. I can't let a pervert like him go back to the village and harm children. We're about to have 200 million. This amount is just a drop in the bucket. Don't be stingy." Reluctantly, the younger brother nodded. I said, "You should get some sleep now, then go home and bring Mom and Dad here. Don't tell anyone, and if someone asks, just say you're taking them to see a doctor. Don't give anything away. Tina and I will wait here for you." "Sleep? I'm too wired to sleep right now." "Not tired at all," my brother said as he stood up to leave. "Sis, just stay here with Tina and wait for our family reunion." Seeing that I couldn't persuade him, I let him go. That day, Tina and I didn't leave the hotel. She was watching cartoons beside me while I browsed for houses online. In her previous life, the neighborhood where Kay lived was excellent, surrounded by lush trees and situated on very high ground. Not only did it help lower temperatures during the extreme heat of the apocalypse, but it also remained unaffected when the heavy rains came later. You should know that after the extreme heat, the torrential rains flooded ordinary residential buildings up to 5 stories high, yet that area barely accumulated any water. It seems that as long as you have money, no matter the circumstances, you can always have more survival opportunities than ordinary people. The most important point is that all the houses in that villa area have high walls on all 4 sides, perhaps out of habit. When Kay and the others were looking for a house, they chose a villa that closely resembled the standalone rural homes with private courtyards. Villas with living room doors facing the road or surrounded by low fences are generally not favored by rural folks, since there's a ready-made reference. I don't need to put in so much effort. I can just buy a house in that neighborhood. With the house issue resolved, the next step is renovation. In their previous life, Kay and the others had to let Bob bring several troublemakers to live in the house just to keep it, and even then, it was frequently visited by homeless people, learning from their experience. I plan to purchase steel bars to encase all 3 above-ground floors of the villa and install an electric fence around the courtyard walls. This part will be handled by Frank, who knows more about renovations than I do. Secondly, since electricity is needed, generators and gasoline are essential for use during heavy rainstorms, while solar power will be used during high-temperature weather. Next is the issue of weapons, firearms, bullets, bows, knives, and other iron tools. Each person should have at least 3. Additionally, radios, walkie-talkies, pagers, and other communication devices will be needed once communication networks are down. For extreme heat conditions, stock up on extra refrigerators and air conditioners. Also, prepare for subsequent weather changes with items like kayaks and ice skates. After addressing safety concerns, the next priority is food. Stockpile as much rice, flour, oil, and other staples as possible. For vegetables and fruits, focus on dried products for long-term use when supplies run out. As for water, I plan to dedicate the entire basement level to water storage. Half of the bottled water will be stored in the supermarket, as it has a long shelf life. The other half will be stored in 20 large 20-square-meter water tanks, kept in the basement, with pipes connected to the rooms above. This way, even if the water becomes contaminated during heavy rain, we won't run out of drinking water. Next is Tina's formula. Buy a 10-year supply to ensure she never runs out of milk. Also, stock up on plenty of snacks and toys for her. Whatever that bastard had in the previous life, she should have too. Then, we need to stockpile clothes for all seasons. Since we don't know if extreme cold will follow the heavy rains, we must prepare outfits for every season. Lastly, and most importantly, buy as many medicines as possible. Cold medicine, anti-inflammatory drugs, vitamins, whatever you can get your hands on. I was doodling and writing in my room when, before I knew it had grown dark outside. My parents and younger brother arrived at the hotel at 9 the next day. My mother had grown even darker after a season of harvesting wheat, making her look older, and my father's back had begun to hunch. The moment I saw them, I wanted to cry. I ran up and hugged them, sobbing uncontrollably. Dad, Mom, in my past life, because I didn't listen to them, I made them worry about me day and night. As their child, I truly owed them too much. Judy, don't cry. Mom heard everything from Frank. You've been wronged. Don't worry. Whatever you want to do now, Mom supports you. Whether it's seeking revenge or anything else, your parents will always stand behind you. My mother held me in her arms, gently stroking my shoulder and softly comforting me. Hearing her soothing words, the emotions I had suppressed for so long finally erupted. Nothing is more heartbreaking than the concern of loved ones. In my past life, my foolishness caused them to worry about me. In this life, I will make up for all my shortcomings. Dad and my younger brother were also wiping away tears beside me, and Tina was so frightened by my emotional outburst that she started crying loudly. The family didn't know how long they had been crying, but under Dad's persuasion, they finally sat on the sofa to discuss what to do next. Sis, I've already transferred the money to Bob. Although he kept asking who I was, he was more concerned about whether I would really send him $10,000 every day. It's clear that with this money, he'll definitely do whatever we say. I also installed surveillance cameras near their house last night. If he doesn't stay in the provincial capital as agreed, we'll know immediately. My younger brother told me one by one what he had done after returning home. I saw that he had done everything well and nodded. Good job, Frank. Next, we need to prepare the supplies and housing arrangements. Mom, Dad, for now, you'll have to stay in a hotel. Once everything is settled over there, I'll bring you over as soon as possible. Mom hugged Tina and nodded. All right, you and Frank focus on what you need to do. Tina will be in good hands with your dad and me. The hotel has great food and comfortable accommodations. There's no hardship at all. Don't worry about us. Seeing how reliable my parents were, I felt at ease and left with Frank to cash out the lottery ticket. Last night, I kept a close eye on the lottery results, fearing any unexpected mishaps. Fortunately, fate didn't play any tricks on me. The winning numbers and prize amount were exactly the same as in my previous life. After receiving the prize money, Frank took me around for a couple of hours before we changed outfits and headed to the sales office of that residential complex. By the time we finished purchasing the villa, it was already evening. The weather outside was getting increasingly hot. No one could have imagined that a month later, temperatures would soar to nearly 60 degrees, riverbeds would dry up, power grids would collapse, and communication networks would fail. Countless elderly and children would lose their lives to the extreme heat. I called Kay the day before communications went down. By then, it had already been 37 days since cashing in the lottery ticket. The renovations to the villa and stockpiling of supplies ensured our family could stay here for 10 years without any issues. My family is settled, now it's time to deal with my enemies. According to my memories from my past life, global communications will be cut off in just one more day, leaving people to rely on the most primitive means of exchanging information. Before that happens, I need to track down all the enemies from my previous life. Honey, where are you now? Sitting in front of the surveillance monitor, I dialed Kay's number, watching the video of Kay using a toothpick to peel grapes for Mia while the old woman massages her legs. I couldn't help but laugh in frustration. This family is truly willing to become servants for the sake of having a grandson. Judy, are you coming back? Kay's words successfully made Mia pause her comfortable eating. She and the old woman both looked at Kay. Kay said nervously, "You're coming back now. It's almost 60 degrees outside, everyone's saying the apocalypse is coming, and we haven't stocked up any supplies for you." So I had to call to find out I was still expected to come back, the day he shamelessly brought his mistress home. Did he ever think there'd be a day like this? I just don't want to argue with him about this right now. No, honey, it's because Frank won the lottery a month ago and bought a villa in the mountains. Now that the renovation is finished, he brought me and our parents here. I've also heard about the apocalypse news. No matter what happens, I thought our family should stay together, so I wanted to ask if you'd like to come. Let me video call you so you can see for yourself. No need. Kay immediately refused when she heard I wanted to video call, then quickly realized what she'd said and added, "I mean, you don't need to video call, just send a recorded clip. That'll be clear enough, Judy. You truly live up to being a daughter-in-law of our Smith family. I really didn't marry the wrong person." He said this as if trying to please me, but through the video I clearly saw Mia reach behind his waist and give him a sharp pinch. Kay immediately hugged her and kissed her, whispering something in her ear. I didn't hear it, nor was I interested. Instead, I directly sent him the video I had recorded earlier. The three of them saw my luxurious villa together, and their faces turned green with envy. The old woman was the first to stand up, angrily saying, "So it turns out that the one who won the lottery a month ago was that little brat. What luck, how does he deserve it? Such fortune should belong to my son, my grandson." She paced back and forth in circles around the living room, then stood before Kay and Mia with bloodshot eyes. "No, son, such a fine house. How can that bunch of country bumpkins deserve to live in it? We must take it from them." Kay and Mia exchanged a glance and smiled. "Mom, you're thinking exactly what we are. Such a great place. Even if the temperature rises another 10 degrees, we wouldn't mind. With our child born in a place like this, how could we worry about raising them?" "Exactly. This house should belong to my grandchild. How can we let those two little wenches live here?" Mia stood up, her nearly 6-month pregnant belly prominent, and said, "Mom, honey, I have an idea. Since Judy is asking you to stay, it means she still loves you very much. We can use that to our advantage and placate her for now. You should know that my brother is still staying with me." "What do you mean?" Kay quickly asked. Mia confidently smiled and said, "Let's call my brother right now to explain the situation and tell him the plan. Have him bring a few people over tomorrow. Judy's family only has a few members, while my brother will bring strong men. Once we have them under control, how we handle things will be entirely up to us, won't it?" "Oh, my daughter-in-law is so clever," the old woman said, patting Mia's belly. "With such a smart mother, my grandson will surely grow up just like his father and get into a top university." Kay also hugged Mia. "My wife is so smart. If only I had spent my wedding night with you. You don't know, the moment I saw you at the wedding, I fell in love with you," he said gently to Mia. "When I was saying my vows in front of the officiant, I was thinking of you, and during the wedding night, I was thinking of you too. I thought it would be impossible to be with you in this lifetime. After all, you and Judy are best friends. I never expected that. Now you even have my son," Mia said proudly. "During your wedding, I could tell there was something off about the way you looked at me. I originally planned to swoop in on your wedding night and lure you to my room, but I just wasn't sure about your feelings, darling. It turns out we've been in love with each other all along." Kay kissed Mia's cheek. "Once we take over the villa, we'll live happily together forever. But Judy is coming over soon. How are you going to leave with us?" As soon as he said this, the old woman was the first to object. "If she dares to leave Mia behind, I'll smash her face in." Mia gave her a disapproving look. Her eyes filled with disdain, though her words remained sweet. "Mom, I know you care about me, but now isn't the time for arguments. I've already made up my mind. When she arrives at the neighborhood, I'll go out and wait by the door, pretending I came to seek refuge with her. She's always been so good to me all these years. Seeing me out in this weather with a big belly, she won't have the heart to abandon me. That won't do. It's scorching hot outside." The old woman didn't dare to argue loudly, only muttering under her breath. Mia smiled and said, "Of course I won't stand for long. I'll go out after she gets on the elevator." When my brother and I arrived, Mia was pacing in front of my door, her face covered in sweat. The moment she saw me, her eyes lit up. "Judy, you're back." I pretended to be surprised and reached out to steady her. "Mia, what are you doing here?" She threw herself into my arms, sobbing softly. "Judy, I was abandoned by someone. He left me after getting me pregnant. Woo-woo." She spun me a tale of a devoted woman falling for a heartless man. I listened quietly, exchanging a glance with my brother, both seeing the mockery in each other's eyes. I comforted her, saying, "Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. You still have me. My younger brother bought a villa. Why don't you come live with me there?" She glanced at my brother with her sparkling, charming eyes and said, "Is that okay?" My brother forced a smile and said, "My sister makes all the decisions in our family, then go." I made the decision for her quite boldly. "The weather is so hot, I don't have time to play along with her act." When Kay opened the door, what he saw was Mia and me looking as close as sisters. He glanced at Mia first before turning his gaze to me. "Judy, what are you all doing?" What a coincidence." "I just ran into Mia at the door," I said with a fake smile, chuckling at him, before he could speak. The old woman squeezed out from behind the door. "Oh dear, poor thing, how could you come alone in this scorching weather? Come in quickly, cool off with the fan and have some water." She held a small fan and blew it directly at Mia, also handing her a bottle of water. I saw it very clearly in the video. Mia stood outside for less than 2 minutes from the time she came out until I appeared. And even the sweat on her face was just splashed water. She really dotes on her eldest grandson. Not even willing to let him suffer for 2 minutes, I watched all this coldly without saying a word. Soon, they would learn the consequences of their actions. Kay didn't even let me enter the room before locking the door, urging me to leave quickly. I knew he was afraid I'd go inside and discover his affair with Mia. But he didn't realize I already knew. I just didn't want to confront him about it at that moment. I obediently followed him downstairs, seeing that I was driving a G-Class. Kay couldn't hide his jealousy. "Frank, is this your new car?" He kept touching the car like a country bumpkin. My brother gave him a disdainful look and said, "Yes, I bought it, but I've already given it to my sister." "Oh, you're giving it to your sister." The old lady was delighted upon hearing this. "Giving it to your sister means giving it to my son. Kay, since you like it, you can drive it later." Kay didn't blush at such shameless words but instead looked at Frank expectantly. Frank said, "That won't do. If you break it, you can't afford to pay for it. This car has been specially modified. It can withstand high temperatures and operate perfectly fine even in weather as cold as -50 or 60 degrees. Hey, you little brat." The old woman wasn't having it when she heard my brother dare to talk about her son like that. Mia, however, subtly held her back from behind. "Frank is right. Not everyone knows how to drive such a fine car." "That Judy. I'm feeling a bit unwell in my stomach. Can we hurry to your place?" Stomach discomfort. The old woman, hearing about her grandchild, immediately shifted her focus. "Get in the car quickly. You're carrying precious cargo now with that big belly of yours." As she spoke, she helped her into the car, and Kay nervously sat with her in the back. I watched the scene of their family of 3 together, suddenly holding my breath, feeling extremely uncomfortable as if stuck between going up and down. Seeing my expression change, my younger brother quickly grabbed my wrist, giving me strength. I took a deep breath, telling myself to stay calm, then turned and walked toward the driver's seat. When they arrived at the villa, the 3 of them acted like country bumpkins visiting a grand garden, touching and examining everything. The old woman kept grumbling, "It's cooler here than in the building, but what's with these walls surrounded by iron nets? So ugly, I'll have them torn down tomorrow. And that empty plot over there, why not plant some vegetables, just leaving it wasted like that? With the current temperature nearing 60 degrees, good luck trying to grow anything." She helped Mia into the living room, criticizing everything. The sofa color was unattractive, the lack of a grand chandelier made it look unimpressive. As if she owned the place, Mia sat on the sofa, her eyes filled with disdain. It was clear she didn't like the villa's decor either. But instead of making an issue of it, she set her sights on the master bedroom. "Judy, which room will I stay in tonight? The doctor said this pregnancy isn't stable, so it's best if I take the master bedroom. It gets plenty of sunlight, which is good for the baby." "You want the master bedroom?" I asked, smiling at her. She looked back at me pitifully. "Is that not okay?" I raised an eyebrow but didn't answer her. Instead, I picked up the 3 glasses of water on the table and handed them to them. The weather outside was scorching hot. After their journey, they must have been thirsty. Sure enough, as soon as I handed them the water, all 3 of them gulped it down eagerly. I watched with amusement and, once they set their glasses down, said, "You'll soon find out where you'll be sleeping." "What do you mean?" Mia frowned at me. "What do you mean, you'll find out soon?" When Mia woke up again, it was already nighttime. Dazed, she lifted her head and saw the chains on her hands and feet, immediately screaming, "Judy, what have you done to me?" I sat on the stool, holding a stun baton, quietly waiting for her to wake up. Hearing her voice, I opened my eyes. What did I do? Isn't it obvious? I stood up, walked over to her, and tapped her pretty face with the stun baton. "Still think I'm a fool? Do you still want to occupy my brother's villa? Now you've got your wish. The basement of this villa has been successfully taken over by you, Judy." "Judy, what are you talking about?" Sensing the situation turning against her, she immediately feigned weakness, tears flowing as if from a faucet, turned on at will. "I don't understand. Is there some misunderstanding between us? We've known each other for over 20 years. Don't you know my character by now? You know exactly what kind of person I am. Don't listen to others' provocations, Judy." Hearing her heartfelt words, I suddenly laughed and walked over to press a button. The wall panel opposite her immediately rose. In the room across, it was unmistakably Kay and his mother. They too were shackled hand and foot, and were now fully awake. Upon seeing me, they were utterly shocked. Then immediately flew into a rage. "Judy, what are you doing? Unlock us right now. You little bitch, you've gone too far." The old woman also started shouting, "Untie me right now, or I'll make my son divorce you." Her words successfully made me laugh out loud. I looked at her and said, "You old hag, get this straight. It's not about whether your son divorces me or not, but whether I let this rotten cucumber of a man live. And one more thing, haven't you noticed who's standing next to me?" Hearing me say this, she quickly shifted her gaze and, seeing me also tied up here just like her, immediately roared in fury, "Ah, my grandson, you wretched bitch, if you dare harm my grandson, I'll never let you go even in death," she shouted angrily, but her rage only paled Kay and Mia's faces, and they both screamed in unison, "Mom, shut the hell up." I found their reaction amusing, still trying to keep it from me. I turned to Kay and said, "Kay, if you don't want to be with me anymore, you could just divorce me. Why go so far as to want me and our child dead? Judy, you know everything." Kay's voice began to tremble. "It's a misunderstanding, all a misunderstanding. Mia and I aren't what you think." "Oh, not what I imagined." I opened the middle door and walked up to him. "Is it about the two of you locking eyes at our wedding, or the plan to sell my daughter? Or perhaps that the child in her belly isn't yours? In that case, I won't hold back anymore." I took out a string of red buttons from my pocket, picked one, and pressed it. Mia's heart-wrenching scream instantly echoed throughout the dungeon. It hurts." Her beautiful face began to contort, and beads of sweat the size of peas rolled down her forehead. "My grandson, you little bitch. How dare you hurt my grandson? You'll die a horrible death." "Too noisy." I frowned at the old woman and pressed another button. The old woman's body twisted violently before she passed out. Kay watched my series of actions, the hypocrisy in his eyes gradually turning into fear. "Judy, don't be like this. I hardly recognize you anymore. Have you forgotten how deeply in love we were back in school? I just dozed off temporarily in our marriage. I love you. I still love you. It was all Mia who seduced me. She sent me explicit messages, deliberately applied to my company, and dressed provocatively every day to parade in front of me. She was the one who seduced me." Mia listened in disbelief, her eyes widening in shock. "Kay, you bastard, what are you saying? Did I tie you to the bed? Did I carry the child myself? You scum, are you really abandoning your own son just to save your skin now?" But Kay completely ignored her, instead keeping his ingratiating smile fixed on me. "Judy, give me another chance, please. Let's start over. Tina needs her father. And you need a husband too. How could you survive during the years of natural disasters without a man to protect you?" He reminisced about the past and painted a grand future, spouting a whole bunch of words while I stood quietly in front of him, watching to see how much sweet talk he could muster. Kay pleaded after talking for a while without getting any reaction from me. "Judy, give me one more chance. I promise to stay by your side and love only you." I raised an eyebrow and asked, "Are you telling the truth? Really? Is it really true?" He quickly nodded. I said, "All right, then I'll give you the chance." I stepped forward and used the key to unlock the chains on his hands and feet. The moment he was freed, his face visibly relaxed with relief, and he immediately moved to embrace me. I blocked him with the stun baton, pressing it against his shoulder as I said, "However, I have conditions." "What conditions?" He stopped in his tracks. "Judy, as long as it's within my power, I'll do it without fail." I smiled at him and enunciated each word clearly. "I want the child in her womb, dead." "No," Mia cried out in terror. "Judy, we're best friends. I'm your closest friend. Just because I made a small mistake, are you really going to take my life?" But Kay, being a businessman, was most adept at reading people. He saw the determination in my eyes, his jaw clenched tightly as he gave me a deep look, forcing out a single word, "Fine." His gaze darkened as he walked toward Mia, who shook her head in terror. "No, please, husband, the child in my belly carries the Smith family blood. It's the son you've been longing for day and night. At that moment, I pulled out a stun baton and struck the old woman hard. She groaned and woke up, but the moment she woke up, Mia's heart-wrenching scream reached her ears, because Kay was punching Mia's stomach repeatedly, drop by drop. Blood flowed down her legs onto the floor, spreading in a crimson pool. The old woman, seeing the scene, immediately began to struggle frantically. "Kay, what are you doing? Stop it right now. That's your son in her belly. Stop it. Stop it now." Whoa. Furious, she spat out a mouthful of blood. That grandson was her life, the long-awaited hope she'd clung to, the promise she'd made to the ancestors of the Smith family. But now, her grandson had died at the hands of her own son. Her head tilted to the side as she passed out. Kay approached me with a pale face, not even glancing at Mia, who had fainted from the pain. "Are you satisfied now?" he asked hoarsely. "Satisfied?" I sneered. "You think I should be satisfied?" I said as I blasted his head with the stun baton. He collapsed limply on the ground like a dead dog. I struck him again and again, only stopping when he was left with a faint breath, then said, "Only when you suffer the pain my daughter and I endured in our past lives might I finally be satisfied." My voice, cold as the depths of winter, exploded through the chain-filled basement. I walked out of the basement, covered in blood, looking like a demon. My brother was waiting at the door. Seeing me come out, he looked at me with concern. "Sis, are you okay?" I smiled and said, "I'm fine. This is Kay's blood. Frank, I'm so happy. I haven't been this happy in a long time." Seeing my unusual mood, my younger brother quickly stepped forward to hug me. "Sis, if you want to be happy, then be happy. This is what they owe you and Tina. Tomorrow, when that scumbag Bob comes, you can be even happier." At noon the next day, Bob indeed brought 5 people with him. I looked at those 5 people and closed my eyes. I knew every one of them. In my past life, they and Bob tortured me in that room until I was neither human nor ghost. I stood by the second-floor window and watched as they fell into the trap at the entrance. The entire courtyard was filled with traps I had set, and the one they fell into was just the deepest. I walked downstairs, carrying a medical kit, and entered the trap they had fallen into from the first floor. All 4 of them had already been knocked unconscious by the electric grid inside the trap. I held a 10-centimeter needle and gave each of them an injection. Don't they love mating? Then let them have all the fun they want. I sat in another room, watching the camera feed from the trap, seeing them mount each other like wild dogs and boars, curling the corner of my lips. 3 days, whenever they stopped, I would electrocute them and inject them with drugs. Everyone was exhausted, coughing up mouthfuls of blood. They were under the influence of drugs and simply couldn't stop. I added a little twist by throwing the old woman, Kay, and Mia down. The trap became even livelier. By the 10th day, a foul stench emanated from the trap, and there was no more movement. I sat in front of the screen, staring at the motionless bodies, and tears silently streamed down my face. Mom, Dad, and my brother brought Tina to my side. They held me in their midst, comforting me with their warmth. Mom said, "It's over, Judy, your hatred is over, for the rest of our lives. Our family will always be together." I listened to my mother's voice and felt the love of my family, crying out loud, "For the rest of my life, I am no longer alone." That's all the story. What do you think of this story? Share with me in the comments section. What would you do if you were in this situation? Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.